trying to start. Okay, the stream is started.
No, that's like bringing up an old ex. Golly,
Okay.
I'm such a big Billy fan.
Wait, are we
Oh
streaming
my
right now? I don't know if
Yes,
you want to.
we're streaming right now.
Yeah.
Yep, we are streaming right now. So
Yeah.
we are the Improvatars, but tonight we're doing a different type of event called Black Box Script Readings. So we find scripts online, or we read scripts that are submitted by the community in our Discord for the writer's benefit. You know, basically, we read out a script. It gives us a chance to do some voice acting, and it gives a chance for the writer to hear their words being performed by people, so that they can hear it in maybe a different intonation than they're thinking of. It's hard to write in a bubble, and so this is sometimes a good way to do it. So tonight we're reading The Monkey's Paw by W.W. Jacobs. This was published in 1902, so it's in the public domain, so we can stream it. So here are the characters. So we have the narrator, which will be read by Stevie tonight. Mr. White, which will be played by Ghosty. Herbert White is going to be read by EJ. Mrs. White is Sherry tonight, and I will be reading Morris and the Representative. Those are two different parts, but I'll just read both of them because they don't appear together. Narrator, go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Without, the night was cold and wet, but in the small parlor of Laburnum Villa, the blinds were drawn and the fire burned brightly. Father and son were at chess, the former, who possessed ideas about the game involving radical changes, put his king into such sharp and unnecessary perils that it even provoked comment from the white-haired old lady knitting placidly by the fire.
Hark the wind. I'm just going to read that until Ghosty gets in here.
I'm back.
Oh, he's here.
All right. We'll just go
read the
back
line.
with...
It's a short line.
I have to reopen my browser. I opened it, it crashed everything.
Okay. I'll read you in. Unnecessary perils that it even provoked comment from the white-haired old lady knitting placidly by the fire. It's okay.
Hold on, I'm going as quick as I can.
I should have waited.
Oh my god, this is frustrating. Okay.
Mhm.
Continue to destination?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, are we just starting?
Yep. Right at the end of the narrator line, that's where you come in.
Oh.
Mhm.
Okay, that's an action. Okay. How do I verbalize
No,
this?
you read that.
Just say
speak
hark
it.
at the wind.
Oh, hark at the wind.
Mr. White, who, having seen a fatal mistake after it was too late, was amiably desirous of preventing his son from seeing it.
I'm listening.
Herbert grimly surveyed the board as he stretched out his hand.
Check.
I should hardly think that he'd come tonight.
His hand poised over the board.
Mate.
That's the worst of living so far out.
He bawled with sudden and unlooked-for violence.
Of all the beastly slushy out of the way places to live in, this is the worst. Pathways, a bog, and a road of torrent. I don't know what people are thinking about. I suppose because only 2 houses on the road are let, they think it doesn't matter.
Never mind, dear. Perhaps you'll win the next one.
Mr. White looked up sharply, just in time to intercept a knowing glance between mother and son. The words died away on his lips, and he hid a guilty grin in his thin gray beard.
There he is.
gave gate banged so loudly and heavy. Banged too loud. Banged loudly and heavy footsteps came toward the door. The old man rose with hospitable haste and opening the door was heard condoling with the new arrival. The new arrival also condoled with himself. To that, Mrs. White said,
Tut tut!
and coughed gently as her husband entered the room, followed by a tall, burly man, beady of eye and rubicund of visage.
Sergeant Major Morris.
The sergeant major shook hands and, taking the proffered seat by the fire, watched contentedly while his host got out whiskey and tumblers and stood a small copper kettle on the fire. At the third glass, his eyes got brighter, and he began to talk, the little family circle regarding with eager interest this visitor from distant parts, as he squared his broad shoulders in the chair, and spoke of strange scenes and doughty deeds, of wars and plagues and strange peoples.
21 years of it. Nodding. When he went away, he was a slip of youth in the warehouse. Now look at him.
You don't look to have taken much harm.
I'd like to go to India myself, just to look around a bit, you know?
Better where you are.
He shook his head and put down the empty glass, and sighing softly, shook it again.
I should like to see those old temples and Bacchus and jugglers. What was that you started telling me the other day about a monkey's paw or something, Morris?
Nothing. Leastways, nothing worth hearing.
Monkey's paw?
Well, it's just a bit of what you might call magic, perhaps.
His three listeners leaned forward eagerly. The visitor absent-mindedly put his empty glass to his lips, then set it down again. His host filled it for him.
To look at it, it's just an ordinary little paw, dried to a mummy.
He took something out of his pocket and proffered it. Mrs. White drew back with a grimace, but her son, taking it, examined it curiously.
And what is there special about it?
Mr. White took it from his son, and having examined it, placed it upon the table.
It had a spell put on it by an old fakir, a very holy man. He wanted to show that fate ruled people's lives, and that those who interfered with it did so at their own sorrow. He put a spell on it so that 3 separate men could each have 3 wishes from it.
His manner was so impressive that his hearers were conscious that their light laughter jarred somewhat.
Well, why don't you have 3, sir?
Oh, sorry, I thought that someone else reading the next one. The soldier regarded him in the way that middle age is wont to regard presumptuous youth.
I have.
And did you really have those 3 wishes granted?
I did.
And yes, and has. Anybody else wished?
The first man had his 3 wishes, yes. I don't know what the first 2 were, but the third was for death. That's how I got the paw.
His tones were so grave that a hush fell upon the group.
If you've had your 3 wishes, it is no good to you now, then, Morris. What do you keep it for?
Fancy, I suppose.
If you could have another 3 wishes, cautiously, would you have them?
I don't know. I don't know.
He took the paw, and dangling it between his front finger and thumb, suddenly threw it upon the fire. White, with a slight cry, stooped down and snatched it off.
Better let it burn.
If you don't want it, Morris, give it to me then.
I won't. I threw it on the fire. If you keep it, don't blame me for what happens. Pitch it on the fire again like a sensible man.
White shook his head and examined his new possession closely.
How do you do it?
Hold it up in your right hand and wish aloud. But I warn you of the consequences.
Sounds like the Arabian Nights.
She rose and began to set the supper.
Don't you think you might wish for 4 pairs of hands for me?
Her husband drew the talisman from his pocket, and then all three burst into laughter as the sergeant major, with a look of alarm on his face, caught him by the arm.
If you must wish, wish for something sensible.
Mr. White dropped it back into his pocket, and placing chairs, motioned his friend to the table. In the business of supper, the talisman was partly forgotten, and afterward the three sat listening in an enthralled fashion to a second installment of the soldier's adventures in India.
If the tale about the monkey paw is not more truthful than those he has been telling us,
Herbert closed the door behind their guest just in time for him to catch the last train.
we shan't make much of it.
Did you give him anything for it?
A trifle. He didn't want it, but I made him take it, and he pressed me again to throw it away again.
Likely. Why, we're going to be rich and famous and happy. Wish to be an emperor, a father to begin with. Then you can't be henpecked.
He darted round the table, pursued by the maligned Mrs. White, armed with an
Come here.
antimacassar. Mr. White took the paw from his pocket and eyed it dubiously.
I don't know what to wish for, and that's a fact. It seems to me I've got all I want.
If you only cleared the house, you'd be quite happy, wouldn't you? Well, wish for 200 pounds, then that'll just do it.
His father, smiling shamefacedly at his own credulity, held up the talisman as his son, with a solemn face somewhat marred by a wink at his mother, sat down at the piano and struck a few impressive chords.
I wish for 200 pounds.
A fine crash from the piano greeted the words, interrupted by a shuddering cry from the old man. His wife and son ran toward him.
It moved. As I wished, it twisted in my hands like a snake.
Well, I don't see the money.
And I bet I never shall.
It must have been your fancy father.
Never mind, though. There's no harm done, but it just gave me a shock all the same.
They sat down by the fire again with the two men, while the two men finished their pipes. Outside, the wind was higher than ever, and the old man started nervously, the sound of a door banging upstairs. The silence, unusual and depressing, settled upon all three, which lasted until the old couple rose to retire for the night.
I expect you'll find the cash tied up in a big bag in the middle of your bed, and something horrible squatting up on top of the wardrobe watching you as your pocket ill-gotten gains.
Herbert sat alone in the darkness, gazing at the dying fire and seeing faces in it. The last face was so horrible and so simian that he gazed at it in amazement. It got so vivid that, with a little uneasy laugh, he fell on the table for a glass containing a little water to throw over it. His hand grasped the monkey's paw, and with a little shiver, he wiped his hand on his coat and went up to bed. I see it too. Are we continuing?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
just 3 sections, but it just
Okay.
continues. Yeah, I
Sure.
left them in there, but I didn't know. Yeah.
I
Oh,
have no problem. I
intermission
was just
break.
checking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody needs to spit and whistle? Yeah, feel
Let's
free.
go.
Yeah. In in the brightness of the wintry sun next morning, as it streamed over the breakfast table, Herbert laughed at his fears. There was an air of prosaic wholesomeness about the room which it had lacked on the previous night, and the dirty, shriveled little paw was pitched on the sideboard with a carelessness which betokened no great belief in its virtues.
Well, I suppose all old soldiers are the same. The idea of our listening to such nonsense. How could wishes be granted in these days? And if they could, how could 200 pounds hurt you, Father?
Might drop on his head from the sky.
Morris said that things happened so naturally that you might, if you so wished, attribute it to its coincidence.
Well, don't break into the money before I come back. I'm afraid it'll turn you into a mean, avaricious man, and we shall not have to disown you. We shall have to disown you.
His mother laughed, and following him to the door, watched him down the road, and returning to the breakfast table, was very happy at the expense of her husband's credulity, all of which did not prevent her son from scurrying to the door at the postman's knock, nor prevent her from referring somewhat shortly to retired Sergeant Major's bibulous habits when she found that the post brought a tailor's bill.
Herbert, will you have some more of his funny remarks? I expect when he comes home.
I dare say, but for all that, the thing moved in my hand, and that I'll swear to.
You thought it did.
I say it did. There's no thought about it. I had just... What's the matter?
His wife made no reply. She was watching the mysterious movements of a man outside, who, peering in an undecided fashion at the house, appeared to be trying to make up his mind to enter. In mental connection with the 200 pounds, she noticed that the stranger was well dressed and wore a silk hat of glossy newness. 3 times he paused at the gate, and then walked on again. The 4th time he stood with his hand upon it, and then with a sudden resolution flung it open and walked up the path. Mrs. White at the same moment placed her hands behind her and hurriedly, unfastening the strings of her apron, put that useful article of apparel beneath the cushion of her chair. She brought the stranger, who seemed ill at ease, into the room. He gazed at her furtively and listened in a preoccupied fashion as the old lady apologized for the appearance of the room and her husband's coat, a garment which he usually reserved for the garden. She then waited as patiently for him to approach his business, but he was at first strangely silent.
I was asked to call. I come from Ma and Megan's.
Is anything the matter? Has anything happened to Herbert? What is it? What is it?
There, mother. Sit down and don't jump to conclusions. You've not brought bad news, I'm sure, sir.
I'm sorry.
Is he hurt?
Badly hurt. But he is not in any pain.
Oh my God, thank God. Thank God for that.
She broke off suddenly as the sinister meaning of the assurance dawned upon her, and she saw the awful confirmation of her fears in the other's averted face. She caught her breath, and turning to her slower-witted husband, laid her trembling old hand upon his. There was a long silence.
He was caught in the machinery.
Caught in the machinery?
Yes.
Mr. White sat staring blankly out at the window, and taking his wife's hand between his own, pressed it as he had been wont to do in their old courting days nearly 40 years before.
He was the only one left to us. It is hard.
The firm wished me to convey their sincere sympathy with you in your great loss. I beg that you will understand I am only their servant and merely obeying their orders.
There was no reply. The old woman's face was white, her eyes staring, and her breath inaudible. On the husband's face was a look such as his friend the sergeant might have carried into his first action.
I was to say that Ma and Meggins disclaim all responsibility. They admit no liability at all. But in consideration of your son's service, they wish to present you with a certain sum as compensation.
Mr. White dropped his wife's hand and, rising to his feet, gazed with a look of horror at his visitor. His dry lips shaped the words.
How much?
200 pounds.
Unconscious of his wife's shriek, the old man smiled faintly, put out his hands like a sightless man, and dropped, a senseless heap, to the floor. Part 3.
Number 3.
In the huge news, because every single first word of the stage is in all caps.
That's how the original text was. Yeah.
In the huge new cemetery, some 2 miles distant, the old people buried their dead and came back to a house steeped in shadow and silence. It was all over so quickly that at first they could hardly realize it, and remained in a state of expectation, as though of something else to happen. Something else which was to lighten this load too heavy for old hearts to bear. But the days passed, and expectation gave place to resignation, the hopeless resignation of the old, sometimes miscalled apathy. Sometimes they hardly exchanged a word, for now they had nothing to talk about, and their days were long to weariness. It was about a week after that the old man, waking suddenly in the night, stretched out his hand and found himself alone. The room was in darkness, and the sound of subdued weeping came from the window. He raised himself in bed and listened.
Come back. You will be cold.
But it is colder for my son.
The sound of her sobs died away on his ears. The bed was warm, and his eyes heavy with sleep. He dozed fitfully and then slept until a sudden wild cry from his wife awoke him with a start.
The paw! The monkey's paw!
Where? Where is it? What is the matter?
I want it! You've not destroyed it!
It's in the parlor on the bracket. Why?
She cried and laughed together, and bending over, kissed his cheek.
I only just thought of it! Why didn't I think of this before? Why didn't you think of it?
Think of what?
Well, the other 2 wishes! We've only had one!
Was that not enough?
No! We'll have one more. Go down, get it quickly, and wish our boy alive again!
The man sat up in bed and flung the bedclothes from his quaking limbs.
Good God, you are mad.
Get it! Get it quickly, and wish! Oh, my boy! My boy!
Her husband struck a match and lit the candle.
Get back. Get back to bed. You don't know what you were saying.
We had our first wish granted. Why not the second?
A coincidence.
I said, go and get it and wish.
He has been dead 10 days, and besides, I would not tell you else, but I could only realize him by his clothing. If it was too terrible for you to see then, how now?
I said, bring him back. Do you think I fear the child I have nursed?
He went down in the darkness and felt his way to the parlor and then to the mantelpiece. The talisman was in its place, and a horrible fear that the unspoken wish might bring his mutilated son before him ere he could escape from the room seized upon him, and he caught his breath as he found that he had lost the direction of the door. His brow cold with sweat, he felt his way round the table and groped along the wall until he found himself in the small passage with the unwholesome thing in his hand. Even his wife's face seemed changed as he entered the room. It was white, expectant, and to his fears seemed to have an unnatural look upon it. He was afraid of her.
Wish!
It's foolish and wicked.
Wish!
I wish my son alive again.
The talisman fell to the floor, and he regarded it fearfully. Then he sank trembling into a chair as the old woman, with burning eyes, walked to the window and raised the blind. He sat until he was chilled with the cold, glancing occasionally at the figure of the old woman peering through the window, the candle end, which had burnt below the rim of the china candlestick, was throwing pulsating shadows on the ceiling and walls until, with a flicker larger than the rest, it expired. The old man, with an unspeakable sense of relief at the failure of the talisman, crept back to his bed. In a minute or two afterward, the old woman came silently and apathetically beside him. Neither spoke, but both lay silently, listening to the ticking of the clock. A stair creaked, and a squeaky mouse scurried noisily through the hall. The darkness was oppressive, and after lying for some time, screwing up his courage, the husband took the box of matches and, striking one, went downstairs for a candle. At the foot of the stairs, the match went out, and he paused to strike another, and at the same moment, a knock, so quiet and stealthy as to be scarcely audible, sounded on the front door. The matches fell from his hand. He stood motionless, his breath suspended, until the knock was repeated. Then he turned and fled swiftly back to his room and closed the door behind him. A third knock sounded through the house.
What's that?
A rat. A rat. It passed me on the stairs.
His wife sat up in bed listening. A loud knock resounded through the house.
It's Herbert! It's Herbert!
She ran to the door, but her husband was before her, and catching her by the arm, held her tightly.
What are you gonna do?
It's my boy! It's Herbert! I forgot it was 2 miles away. What are you holding me for? Let go! I must open the door!
For God's sake, don't let it in.
You're afraid of your own son? Let me go! I'm coming, Herbert! I'm coming!
There was another knock, and another. The old woman, with a sudden wrench, broke free and ran from the room. Her husband followed to the landing and called after her appealingly as she hurried downstairs. He heard the chain rattle back and the bottom bolt drawn slowly and stiffly from the socket. Then the old woman's voice, strained and panting.
The bolt! Come down! I can't reach it!
Her husband was on his hands and knees, groping wildly on the floor in search of the paw. If he could only find it before the thing outside got in. A perfect fusillade of knocks reverberated through the house, and he heard the scraping of a chair as his wife put it down in the passage against the door. He heard the creaking of the bolt as it came slowly back, and at the same moment he found the monkey's paw and frantically breathed his third and last wish. The knocking ceased suddenly. Although the echoes of it were still in the house, he heard the chair drawn back and the door opened. A cold wind rushed up the staircase, and a long, loud wail of disappointment and misery from his wife gave him courage to run down to her side and then to the gate beyond. The street lamp flickering opposite shone on a quiet and deserted road.
And
The end.
The end.
There you
And
go.
scene.
That was
Okay. What was the third wish, damn it? What was it?
I've got the same thought there.
For the boy to rest in peace, I think, is how I interpret it, but maybe it's a little
Yeah.
left up to you.
That'd be the happiest ending, I think. Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
but knowing how stories
don't
ended,
know.
like especially in that time period, it was probably something like super stupid.
She ate her own son.
So that
No.
was The Monkey's Paw by W.W. Jacobs.
That's a
yeah.
good story. Steve, very good. Very
Thank
good
you.
narrating.
I appreciate
You're welcome.
it.
Nice little, nice
I
child
loved your
voice.
ham.
Well, I realized.
Did you like my what?
Yeah, he was like an
Beautiful
adult
job,
son, and I
Bobby.
should have told you that.
Yo, yeah,
You
I
love
was
my what?
old, man. I
loved your
middle-aged
enthusiasm
man.
is what I'm saying. It was very, like,
Oh,
it was
my
very
enthusiasm?
theatrical.
I think
Yeah.
I was trying.
Robert had like
I was trying,
two
man.
lines.
What's your
EJ,
reading?
God.
I didn't want to
that
be
was-
boring.
I loved
Yes.
the contrast you put in. Just
I know,
like
right? It
these
was
terrible
great.
people and the Bart
You
wasn't
did,
Simpson
you did a
son.
good job too.
Thank you.
I wasn't supposed to be a kid, but it's all right.
You're right. Stevie
It
was
was
Steve
really
was a great
good.
narrator.
Yeah,
Great
Yeah, no,
narrator.
you too.
Stevie is a
Yeah,
great narrator.
you were a fantastic narrator. Fantastic.
Thank you
Oh,
for
yeah.
Thanks for
listening. I
watching,
hope you
everybody.
guys
This is our
enjoyed the
First time
show.
doing this.
Yeah, guys,
So-
really, thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, the other thing I want to point out too is so if you, I don't know, it's
couldn't see anybody
up
was
to
here because I was
the
looking at his
reader,
script.
to determine. But so if anyone has any, scripts, they'd like us to read or anything like that, I don't know, Light Controller might have some things like that. I don't know about you, Marty, or any of the other folks out there, but we like to read scripts in here. We haven't done it for a long time, but now that our shows for the Improvatars are on in the Highbrow are on Thursdays every week, we've got our Tuesdays open on these other opposite weeks to do more of these more experimental shows. So this one we pulled kind of from the internet or whatever, but the preference would be to do things that people have written. And so if you have anything, just contact us or let us know, and we may do this again in a couple of weeks on Tuesday. Otherwise, we're going to be doing our improv show, our normally scheduled program, on Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, the same time that this started. So that's about it from us. I'm going to end the stream, and then we can just kind of hang out.
Bingo.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go shower.
All right.